Hey folks, it's your pal Mike Shea from slyflourish.com and twitter.com/slyflourish, here with another episode of Selecting Magic Item Rewards. That's not right. No, change that. This is Lazy DM Prep. Dragons of Waterdeep. I got my thing wrong. Roll for initiative. Snark Knight is here. Welcome. Let me start that again. Sorry, I had my little screen was set from the other time. So, this is Sly Flourish's Lazy DM Prep. This is a weekly show, Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, in which I use steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master right over there to prepare for my weekly D&D game on Sundays, which is, in this case, Dragons of Waterdeep. That's what I wish it was called, but I don't get to call it Dragons of Waterdeep. It is called Waterdeep Dragon Heist. I still think Dragons of Waterdeep is cooler, but I didn't get a vote. So I go through the 8 steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master to prepare for this game, and then we also talk about D&D. If you are not familiar with the 8 steps of Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, there is a link below to both a preview copy of the 8 steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, as well as a YouTube series in which I go through. I have one video that is a brief summary of all 8 steps, and now I have a video for each of the 8 steps that range from about 6 minutes to, in some cases, more than 20. I think for secrets, my video is longer than 20 minutes. So if you want to dive deep into what the 8 steps are and how they work, you can read about them in the book or in the preview, or watch the YouTube videos and learn about them there. So I'm not going to go into detail on what they are in this show anymore. I used to go through them all every time, but it took a lot of time, and I thought it was better to spend that time doing other things and put those in the video that you guys can watch for free. So last week, let's go over to the notes. Last week, if you recall, if you happen to watch the show, I won't make the assumption anybody watches the show, but I'm glad that you do, if you do. I wasn't feeling real good about it. I did my prep. I went through the steps. I had some stuff. I had a strong start, but I didn't really have scenes that I expected. And I was like, I don't know where this is going to go, and I don't know what's going to happen. And I just generally felt like I didn't have enough prepared for the game. And in particular, my complaint is with Chapter 2 of Waterdeep Dragon Heist. It's a little too loose for me. I like a little bit more structure in my when I'm in a published adventure. I like open-endedness. I loved the I thought that Tomb of Annihilation and Curse of Strahd did a wonderful job of having a big chapter that gave you lots of opportunity for sandboxy stuff. And I thought even the smaller parts also gave you a lot of sandboxy stuff. In this one, it was a little too open. It's like, here's a whole bunch of factions that could come after the characters or come to the characters with different jobs. Here's tons and tons of tiny little jobs, most of which, I think all of which, don't really have to do with the Dragons of Waterdeep itself. And here's what you can do to kind of open your bar, which is cool. And here's the location of Trollskull Alley, and that's cool too. The argument is, anytime you kind of get bored with this chapter, I was talking to my friend Enrique about this, the newbie DM. Anytime you get bored with this chapter, you can just drop in the fireball from chapter 3 and keep the adventure moving onward. But, you know, I always kind of like, well, I want to see where it goes. Anyway, this is a long-winded way of saying the adventure went very well. People were happy. People felt like they did feel like, wow, I've got a lot of threads to follow. I had a couple of players who were like, oh my God, I can't keep track of all the stuff we could possibly do, because they had a lot of different things they could do. And I tried to help like refine it down and be like, well, here are the main ones, right? Here are the ones that are really meaningful. I know that when I talked about this with Enrique, there's another video you can see on the YouTube channel of Enrique Bertrand and I talking about the end of Tomb of Annihilation and the beginning of Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And he said that his players grabbed onto some of these quests that they got from the factions, assuming they were part of the story. And he had to, like, you know, beat him over the head with the fact that these aren't really part of the story. And that sort of drove him a little crazy. Evil John, good morning to you. Dice Karma fan, thank you. I'm glad you like the book. If you're in chat, feel free to chat. Dogfood 411, information on dog food, says good morning. So I'm a little bit more careful about kind of making sure that the players recognize the fact that these side quests are not necessarily the main quest. But then really, I'm kind of steering them away from all those quests to begin with. I'm not really bringing the faction agents. I brought in one faction agent that kind of made sense. And then, but I'm tying it into the game and sort of getting in. It's more about getting them connected to the factions and getting them into the story. But the story's gonna come up. So, last session, I started off with the thugs, and Emic Frewn, their rival, showed up. And I thought, like, we're going to have a nice, fun street fight. And the players were like, let's talk to him. And so they talked to him, and they're like, let's convince him of some stuff. And let's do some trickery. And they did some trickery. So I want to embrace that and be like, you don't have to do it. So they actually said, like, you guys don't really want this place. It's kind of haunted. So they brought two of the thugs. They let two of the thugs into the manor. And then Leaf, the poltergeist that's in it, possessed one of the thugs and had him chase around the other thug. And then both of them went running out of the place and said, yeah, this place is terrible. And Emic Frewn's like, whoa, I'll be back. So Emic Frewn left. He goes, it doesn't matter because I've got your guy anyway. Your pal Banjo is with me, and he's comfortable though. And they're like, "Ooh, he has Banjo." And the funny thing is, the only character who cared about the fact that Emic Frewn had kidnapped Banjo, including his best friend, who was like, "Oh, that's too bad," was the guy who's never met him. So that was kind of funny. They sort of didn't grab onto that thread. Eventually, they did grab onto that thread, but that was like, you know, and that was because the player who was playing Banjo is out this week. And he's out last week, and he's out this week. So I was like, well, I can use this character as a MacGuffin. Hey, guess what? He got kidnapped by the rival. And the rival's not like a torturing cultist, so it's not a problem. You know, he's just down. Maybe, I said, like, he's down being hung up, and people like, ooh, like working his abs. And so it's kind of funny. So they kind of went off on their own missions at that point, and they started with the Grizzled, John the Grizzled, who is a arcane cleric and is, but also is a member of the Brewers Guild. He wanted to go meet the head of the Brewers Guild, and he did. A Hammond Craddock, which is in, this is in the book, as one of the members of the guilds. And I said, oh, you know the guy, and he knows you, and you like each other. So they went to his bar, which is a small little place, but they liked it there. And Craddock kind of told them about like what they're gonna have to do, and he mentioned it, said, yeah, well, you know, if you're looking for money, like it's gonna cost you a lot of money to get this place fired up, but there is a place you could go. Blue Alley. And everyone's like, Blue Alley? And everyone's like, you don't want to go there. That's crazy, you know. But then they're like, ooh, Blue Alley sounds cool. Like, what's up with Blue Alley? And if you recall, I kind of printed out a copy of Blue Alley last time. I still haven't read it yet. I should have read it before this. And it's like a miniature dungeon crawl in the middle of Waterdeep, which is kind of neat. And I forget, I think, was it MT Black? I think MT Black did it. I think it might have been his first Guild Adept adventure. So, so I threw that in front of the players, so they have that option of going to Blue Alley. And then they said, well, oh, and then they wanted to go drop off the potions that they had picked up last time to the Viper. They never met the Viper before, but they met her now. And they had this whole thing about like, well, should we tell her that the potions are actually poison and not telepathic? Telekinesis or telepathy potions or mind-reading potions? Or does she already know that and she doesn't want to know that we know it? She doesn't want us to know it? You know, so they ended up telling her anyway, and she just sort of deadpanned them and took the potions and gave them money. So Lockpick says, who are the villains? The villains are the Castlanters in this one. I'm using the Castlanters as the villains. But they haven't really come into play yet, other than the fact that I mentioned that there's a lot of crazy rich cultists running around. So I haven't really dropped the clue in yet. And that's probably, some of those clues were in front of the characters early. In fact, those might come up in the secrets today when I'm doing my prep. That, you know, I think you'll see where it kind of ended up. But I think the plots, the seeds for the fact that there's a rich family out there who's involved in stuff might come out. You just like saying Castellanter. I like saying Castellanter too. I like them because they're a villain that I've never really worked with before. Like the Xanathar, you know, has been around forever. Manchun was the one I ran when I ran the playtest of this. And who's the other one? Oh, well, Jarlaxle, but who wants Jarlaxle as a villain? Like, Jarlaxle's far cooler as a sub-ally or, you know, a rival or whatever. So that's how I'm playing Jarlaxle. I don't think I'd ever have Jarlaxle be the villain. I could see having all the other three, but Jarlaxle is kind of cool. So, so they dropped off the poison, and then they went and rescued Emic Frewn from Frewn's bruise. But in the process, they set the place on fire and burned it to the ground. So they now are sort of wanted by the Watch. Because they burned down Frewn's bruise. They did rescue their friend. And then on their way out, who should show up to kind of whisk them away from the crime scene but Mr. J.B. Nevercott, who rode up in a fast cart and said, "Hop on board. I've got a place we can go." And he took them down to the dock ward and said, there is a ship, the ship where I work. I work for a person there, and it's called the Sea Maiden's Fair. And why don't we go and have dinner? And then they got on a small boat, a nicely crafted boat, and made their way to the Sea Maiden's Fair. So the end of the adventure was, the adventure began at the Sea Maiden's Fair. And that's where we begin today's adventure. So our characters, going through the 8 steps today, polysyllabic name that sounds slightly effetate, perfect villain name. Yeah, sometimes names just work out. So I know Jerry is not there, but I think everyone else might be, or there might be one other person out, but I don't know who. So when we look at our characters, our cast of characters in this campaign, we have Lord Anton Greycastle, a Battlemaster Fighter Noble, Waterdhavian Noble, who works in the shipping. His family works in shipping, and he's kind of the black sheep of the family. They kind of don't really work with him, and he knows that J.B. Nevercott and the ships, the Sea Maiden's Fair, are rivals of his. In fact, let's see, I can minimize that, and I don't need that, and I do need that. So let's go here to Dragon Heist, Trollskull Alley. The ship itself, the Sea Maiden's Fair. Let's see. In this one, Jarlaxle is, Zardoz Zord, right? Is the, we should put them down in NPCs. Snark Knight says the Jarlaxle dinner fell flat for us. I didn't even know. Is there a Jarlaxle dinner inside the adventure? And yeah, so I think I don't think it will fall flat for me because I didn't even know there was one in the adventure, and I've already got thoughts about how it is going to tie in. So chapter 3. I keep opening the wrong window. Chapter 3. So chapter 3 is Fireball. Is there a dinner with Jarlaxle and Fireball? I thought that was mostly running around. Is it under loose ends? Yeah, I think so. I think there's a dinner with Jarlaxle perhaps in chapter 2, and certainly later on. Between the Nimblewright and the Manor. Ah, interesting. Yeah. Finding Nims created. Here we go. So yeah, I never ran this. I also screwed up that the Sea Maiden's Fair is not his ship name. It's his fair. But he has 3 ships. But I think we're just going to call one of the ships the Sea Maiden's Fair from now on. And he had 2 other ships, maybe. Yeah, interesting. So you can have like a whole, you can have a whole dinner with him, and he actually doesn't say anything about anything that's going on, according to the book, which is kind of lame. So we're not going to do that. In my version of this, we are going to have, let's see, minimize those windows. We are going to have, he is going to give up some information. So, so I'm doing the dinner early. And I think part of the fun is that JB Nevercaught and Zardoz Zord are actually the same person. But I think that he will have someone else. So, dinner. So the starting, so yeah, let me go through the characters. I haven't even finished going through the characters. Okay, so we Lord Anton Greycastle and rival, his family. His family is a rival of Zardoz Zord. Banjo Wilkerson got kidnapped by Frewn. He wants to try to build a banjo, and he works for what's his name? Durnan. He sleeps under the stairs. John the Grizzled is a dwarf arcanist, he's also a brewer. Aranis is the drow pact of the fiend warlock, and he knows that Izakul, his patron, is trying to get him to do something. And Agrin, Pat, is a human rogue investigator, former member of the City Watch, too old for this shit, sort of kicked out of the City Watch, stole a draconic chamber pot, secretly with gray hands. He's a spy for the gray hands. Nobody knows it. And then we have Galen, an elven bladesinger, who is searching for Auntie Patiti, the hag. But now he's sort of involved in this other stuff as well. Handy D&D Beyond tip for the chat. The section headers are anchor tags you can link to directly from another page or markdown. I use them to assemble quick links to encounters I want to run into Annihilation. Yeah, that is cool. So you can actually, if I go to a header... I wonder which headers. So Nim's Secret. How do I get to the link? Oh, I guess you can do it from the chapter, right? So if I go here and I say we want to go to Nim's Secret, I can copy that link and, for example, paste it in. Yeah, and Nim's Secret is a full hyperlink, so you can link directly to it. Yeah, you could view source, but you can also link to it from the table of contents. So that's a pretty handy way to link to it. And if you do it in Markdown and then view it in a Markdown thing, you can go straight to it. So that's cool. I don't really use the full Markdown capabilities in this because I use these for the show notes on YouTube. But yeah, you could certainly do that too. Very cool. John the Grizzled, Waterdeep Aranis, Aragorn is secretly of the Grey Hands. This one, I'm hoping will come up, but we'll see. I don't even know that he knows this yet, so we'll figure that out. So the strong start is dinner. So dinner with JB Nevercaught, and they see some of they'll see some of the circus performers. So hey chat people, you can help me out. Give me a cool circus event that the characters can see. For example, they might see a gunslinger. A gunslinger shooting watermelons. Somebody throws a watermelon up, he pulls out a pistol, goes bang, and it, like, what the hell is that? Fire dancing. Lassoing a displacer beast. That is good. I like it. Blink Dog Magic Axe. I like that too. That's a good one. Acrobatic Fire Breathers. Pretty cool. So these are not events that are being done at the show yet. These are ones that the characters will see them practicing when they come on board the ship. So that's kind of a fun thing to see. And I sort of like the Displacer Beast. What's the challenge rating on Displacer Beast? Displacer Beast. Ooh, they're pretty tough. Challenge 3. So maybe a Displacer Beast gets loose. And the characters have to do some stuff about it. And they're not allowed to hurt it. Oh, interesting. A Circus Delay style story acrobat event, which gives them clues about what is happening. Oh, foreshadow. Foreshadow of the heist. You know, like dodging the gold dragon to steal the gold. That would be kind of cool. Gray ooze high dive. Ah, why? Why? Maybe this is the act for the fire breathers. That like one fire breather is acting like a gold dragon. I like it. Kenku clowns. Very cool. All right, that's enough of that. So, so during the dinner. So, what info is JB going to pass along? What does he want from them? So JB is Durlaxle, right? And he kind of wants to shake these guys up. And he knows that they're involved with the Zinterim. So he's going to pass along some secrets. We'll add the secrets, right? That if his attention is on it, it's important. Who else? A Some of these I'm stealing, but JB is like the perfect guy to pass along some of these secrets. The other one is that what's his name? It's a good piece of intel. A lot of missing money. So in this case, it's kind of fun to dive right into the secrets, because the secrets tell us kind of the theme of what else is going to happen. I talk about secrets all the time. I mentioned the fact previously in other venues that the idea of secrets and clues was powerful enough that it's what got me to write Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. I think this book has a lot more in it, and there's a lot more going on than Lazy Dungeon Master did. I love Lazy Dungeon Master. Lots of people still really love that book, and I love it too. But one of the main reason I wrote this was because I thought secrets and clues are so powerful. And to me, they're so powerful because you can kind of use them for anything. They are a wonderful source of that prepare to improvise, right? We come up with our 10 secrets and we've got them. And in this case, it's like I kind of feel lost about what the adventure is going to be like, but I can hammer out 10 secrets, and those secrets can lead me on to many things. Yeah, so the use of secrets can string chapter 2 together nicely. Exactly. You can sort of fill in the blanks on this. Let's see. What is her name? I always forget the current Blackstaff. Monsters and NPCs. Vajra Saphir. The Blackstaff. Yeah. Pollen, man. It's a killer. Trees are trying to kill us. And we kind of deserve it. Let's see. What else? What other secrets can we... What other secrets can JB Nevercott share? So JB Never... You know, this might be one source. Obviously, we don't tie these secrets directly to JB Nevercott, but he's going to be vomiting forth secrets when they're talking. So... go kill the trees right back. Yeah, I don't think that'll work out. What other interesting things can they learn? A lot of money. I think they already know this. Never remember. We're supposed to return it to the towns. But he never did because he's an ass. So these, you know, what other interesting things are going on? Anything about Blue Alley? Any other threads that we want to... I think we want to tie most of the threads to the core of the adventure. So there's a bunch of like follow the money. Yeah, the Horde of the Dragon Queen tie-in is really, that's one of my favorite parts. It's not, I don't think it's even core in the, I don't think it's necessarily core in the adventure, but to me it's a wonderful hook. I think you can really tie, like Horde of the Dragon Queen, Horde of the Dragon Queen can tie into many of the other published adventures. Particularly, it ties in really well with Storm King's Thunder, and it ties in well with Dragon Heist. So you can theoretically run these like 3 big Sword Coast adventures and spend, you know, years in there. And I think that's pretty cool. You could even tie them if you wanted. I think a couple of adventures that one could sort of dig into and draw a lot out of are the Scourge of the Red Wizards, the Dreams of the Red Wizards, Scourge of the Sword Coast, I think it's called. And it was a bunch of adventures that came out during the playtest. It was right at the end of 4E and right at the beginning of 5E. And they take place in the Daggerford area, south of Waterdeep. And you could have a, yeah, Dead and Thay was one of them. There were 2 adventures there, and then there's also the adventures that are inside They're called Dragonspear Castle. There's a big adventure series that was built for the playtest called Dragonspear Castle, and you can tie all those together. And so you can really, there's a lot to fill out that's happened in the last 7 years in our lives of that you could bring together for a massive Sword Coast adventure series. And I'm lucky that I've had players that have played through all of this. So this is a lot of work for a lazy DM. Which? My secrets or just me BSing? This isn't work. It's a lot of me chatting is what it is. A lot of me, I'm staring at I have a Sword Coast map sitting right above my monitor here. I just like to stare at it and think about Loudwater and Najara and Darkhold. I love Darkhold. I ran in my Storm King's Thunder game, they went after Darkhold. They broke into Darkhold and they saw the Paragost. That was pretty cool. Oh, 4 more secrets. Things that they could discover. So a lot of it is to follow the money, right? That a lot of money has moved and changed hands. So where the money went could matter a lot. That would be some interesting research. Yeah, Evil John, I agree with you completely. So Evil John says, I've read them over, good stuff. I'm certain 5e doesn't get enough credit for how easy it is to port content over it. And you are absolutely correct. Like, that's why I kind of poo-poo people who are it's one thing to wish that Wizards would do something like, I hope they do a Planescape thing. I would held a message for aggressive interpersonal secrets. Doesn't like, I don't know why that was considered filtered. That's weird. X doesn't like Y. A has a son enthralled with B's daughter. Yeah, so you could have a secret like that. I don't know any of those things yet, though. Yeah, so I certainly wish, like, I would love Wizards of the Coast to do a new Planescape book. They haven't touched Planescape in, I think since 2nd? I don't think there was any 3rd edition Planescape stuff, and there wasn't any 4th edition Planescape stuff. So it has not been touched in a while. And I'd be surprised. I don't have any inside information on this, which means I can talk about it. I would be surprised if they don't do one, and I think they will. But I'm not like mad at them for not doing it. And the reason why is if I gave it that much of a damn about running Planescape, I would buy and I have bought the Planescape 2nd edition stuff and port it over. Like, it's good stuff, it's nostalgic enough that we like it. So we could go play off that. Like, I don't think, and it can almost play off of it without almost any conversion. Like, all the materials there, just change the monsters out. So yeah, I agree, Evil John, that 5e, it works really well for converting old stuff. Probably 4th edition stuff is a little harder to convert if you look at all their encounters, but you can steal the whole story and you can sort of just kind of redo the encounters a little bit. And I bet you could do it without any work. I bet you could, I bet I could grab anyone. I got all the 4th edition adventures sitting here on a shelf. And I bet I could grab any one of those and I could probably run them as is and just pull out monsters and put in new ones. And I bet you it would work just fine. So yeah, I think 5e is a fantastic system for being able to convert old stuff. And that's because it's built on a lot of old stuff, What other? 3 more secrets. What other interesting things are going on? There's a whole... I get upset whenever a DM rarely considers the strict law enforcement in Waterdeep. It's a considerable trait of the city. Killing within Waterdeep city limits is an arresting offense. Yeah, and I just had a group that burned it to the ground. So one of the things I think JB is going to do is... He's going to get rid of the law. He's going to get the characters cleared of bruise, and he's going to offer to help back Trollskull Manor. Warrants for everybody. So, and I think like they'll have like a fun thing like, hey, we captured these guys. It's like, yeah, we hate Frewn. It's like a bunch of dudes that JB Nevercaught bought off to take the fall for burning down the bar. The regular suspects, right? Regular suspects are going to take the fall. Maybe the watch is underfunded with that big revenue shortfall. Yeah, I don't think it. I think the city is okay. I think it's mostly outer towns that are sort of out of the public eye, which is why this is sort of a Cold War. They don't recognize. They don't recognize that how bad it is for places like Greenest and Baragost and these other Elturel, these places that got hit by the Cult of the Dragon and got wiped out and lost all their money and lost all their stuff. Even Daggerford. I think Daggerford recovered, but so I think like a lot of it is out of the public eye of Waterdeep, but it's a so Waterdeep itself is probably okay, but a lot of the outside cities are not. Outer towns and refugees working. In fact, that could, here's a good secret. So the outer ward, right? I think the outer ward is relatively new. In Sheridian, the wards of Waterdeep. Sea ward. What's it called? It's not the outer ward. North Ward, Castle Ward, Trade Ward, Southern Ward, Dock Ward, City of the Dead, the Field Ward. The Field Ward are refugees from towns. That's a good secret. So I got a lot of secrets. NPCs. So Emic Frewn, JB Nevercaught, Voucher Saphir, Schemo Weird Bottle, the City Watch, Seth Cromley. For I think the North Ward. No, that's not right. He's the City Watch for the Dock Ward. So Syndra Dirthands is a guide, a halfling guide and scout, and she works for JB Nevercaught. Is it Zardoz or Zardoz? I don't know. Let's find out. Mistro's Fall. It's Zardoz with a Z. So, yeah, so the big one is big talk on the ship, right? They're going to see the oh, there's an emoji I've never seen before. So what other scenes are possible? What threads do they have open right now? So there's Blue Alley, which I think they want to go to, so I better freaking read up on that. There's Blue Alley. Let me pull up Blue Alley here. Actually, we'll go over here. Now we'll load up here. Nation's Finest Jazz. Yeah, Alan Patrick and MT Black did this. 52 ratings. It is a platinum bestseller on the DMs Guild. They apparently have a high-res map. I should log in and get that. Grid black and white. Player version. Oh, that's a nice map. Of course. Why is this taking so long? It's a local file. Wow, that's weird. I must be running out of RAM on my machine or something. Something's goofy. Anyway, so Blue Alley is a dungeon crawl that you can throw in the middle of Waterdeep, and I might do it. I might do so now. We'll see. I already threw it in front of them, so they might already do it. So what other scenes? What other threads did they have? They got the potions back. They Lee. So here's a thread. Tyler Milrock. So Tyler Milrock is he is an old disheveled man now who's been down on his luck his whole life. And as a kid, he was convinced by Frewn to murder Leaf so Frewn could take over Trollskull. Now, because Frewn wouldn't be that old. So that can't work. Maybe as a young, it could be that, right? That Frewn was a young man, and Frewn and Tyler both thought that they would kill Leaf and take over. So Frewn convinced Tyler to kill Leaf, and he did, but they didn't get the deed, and it ended up getting lost for all those years. I think that could work. We're gonna add a secret. Here's a black and white map. I don't know what is up with this. Oh, I know why, because the map is enormous. That is a good-looking map, though. Wow. That's cool. Evil John says, that's a good list. I'm ready to go. I got 15 minutes left. What, you got things to do? You're not sticking around for the rest of the show? So I'm trying to think of where else they might want to go. But I think it's probably time for the fireball. So I think I might end the adventure. If they go to Blue Alley, that might take a couple of sessions. Otherwise, I think it's time for fireball. Let's move things along. If not, they're going to get stuck at low levels for a while. So, yeah, so I feel pretty good about it. I'm not going to worry about monsters. Is the stream more about prep? Oh, whose stream? Does somebody else have a stream? Or are you talking about this stream? Miriam Mage says, first time catching the stream. Yeah, this is all about game prep. This is all about actually using Lazy Dungeon Master Lazy Dungeon Master steps to prep for my game. So that's what you see here. I don't have any after game notes because I haven't had the after game yet. This is a new little thing I stuck on here, which is now that I can edit all this on my, look at this. Oh, I don't have to worry about it because it's all in secrets. So I'm not going to worry about that. So there's my strong start. Dinner with JB Nevercaught. I got my scenes, a bunch of scenes to do. I got a pile of secrets. I got a bunch of NPCs. I'm not going to worry about monsters. I'm not going to worry about treasure. It's like the lab here. Prep and conversation about efficient prep. I could talk about my Shadow of the Demon Lord game a bit. Why don't we take 10 minutes? I mentioned this in the last stream that I am running a Shadow of the Demon Lord campaign for my Wednesday group. And I ran my first Shadow of the Demon Lord game on Wednesday. And it was very interesting. And I have some thoughts and some tips. And I'm writing up in a Sly Flourish article, so you'll see it there, but why don't I mention it as well? So I love the system. It's very tight. It's very cool. It moves quick. The resolution is really neat. Banes and Boons are a really fun mechanic and a good way to deal with modifiers. I love the character progression. You level up every session. You get nice, meaningful, juicy bits. I would really love to play it because it just looks like really fun character growth. I also think it's very interesting to build a campaign that is made up of only 11 episodes, and each one is one session long. So you don't have to play it that way. You can play longer sessions and stuff like that. But I really want to try to do like a 3-hour small adventure every week where there's a meaningful beginning, middle, and end, and there's like a 2-day in-game break at least between sessions. So that's making my head hurt a bit. It's actually pretty hard to prep because of that. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing next week. I'm going to think about that when I'm done with this game. But that's really interesting. What else? Obviously, the initiative system, the whole fast turn, slow turn thing is really cool. I highly recommend it. If you're not sure what the hell I'm talking about, let me pull it up here. Drive through. I talked about it last week on the show. Shadow of the Demon Lord is a game by Rob Schwab. It is a awesome game. I highly recommend it. It's fun. It's really dark. So that's the other thing. I would, or before session 0, when you're even talking about running this, the key is to talk to your players and say, hey, this is a dark fantasy game. Like, insanity and madness are core mechanics of the game. This is not a game of high-power heroic fantasy, although there's a lot of high-power characters. But you're also constantly managing negative stuff. Health is hard to get back. Like, hit points are hard to recover, much harder to recover than they are in 5th edition. And then insanity and corruption are 2 things that you have to continually manage. So, you know, so you got to want to play that kind of game. It's very much like Darkest Dungeon. The other thing I would do for starting characters that are just playing out is I would not have any monster inflict more than 1d6 damage. Because 2d6 damage can kill a single character from full to 0 and kill them outright in a single hit. And I think that that is just not a fun way. For me, some people love that lethality. I find that that's too rough. I really want to, I want them to survive the first thing. Math is very linear, which is pretty good. Like you know, that's a pretty flat progression. But yeah, so I wouldn't have any monster that inflicts more than 1d6. And if you have a monster that does more than 1d6, just lower the damage to 1d6 and have them attack multiple people. The other thing I would do in a session 0 early on is remind people that like health is going to be really hard to get back during a session, but you will heal up full between sessions. And I would do that by having 2 days. Like resting for a day, resting for 8 hours only gives you 1/4 of your hit points back. Resting for a full 24 hours gets you half your hit points back. So it takes you 2 full days of rest to go to full. So what I'm going to do is just essentially you start fresh every session, but then all the resources you have for that session, you're not necessarily going to get anything back during that session. You're probably not going to have long rests. You're probably not going to rest for 8 hours during a session. The sessions I'm going to keep the story tight. So that's very interesting. Sorry. Pollen. Yeah, so it's cool, and I'm looking forward to running it. I'm kind of all about it these days. I spend a lot of time like reading all the supplements and all the stuff. I've got 90 PDFs of Shadow. Like Rob Schwab has put out so much stuff for Shadow. Let's see. These are just the ones that he is the author for. Are 150, and hang on. That's probably, let's do rule system. Whoa, that's not right. So these are Shadow the Demon Lord. I'm trying to find ones that just he wrote. Because there's a few, yeah, and it's like 150 PDFs that he put out. So he's got a ton of stuff, and I bought a lot of it because in the Kickstarters and stuff like that, you can get it all for really dirt cheap. And he had like I think there was a couple of Shadow of the Demon Lord, what are they called? Humble bundles, where you can get a lot of stuff for not a lot of money. And it's pretty good. I'm not crazy about the adventures. Do I have this one, Slaves in Death? I don't know if I have that one. I must have it. Let's log in and find out. I purchased it. Yeah, I already have that one. Yeah, really cool. The other thing I think will be neat, I'm really looking forward to it, is he's doing a another version of this game called Four Towers, or you know, Travel the Four Towers or something like that. Let's see. Free Companies of the Four Towers, which he refers to as a love letter. He doesn't refer to, but it's of Greyhawk style. So that is a more high fantasy dungeon exploration version of Shadow of the Demon Lord, which I think would be great because I think a lot of people love the system, but might not be crazy for the hardcore, brutality and dark fantasy nature of Shadow. So a high fantasy version will be interesting too. I actually got a chance to play Four Towers with Rob Schwab at Winter Fantasy, but then made the mistake of saying we want the full Rob Schwab experience. And then it was very much like Shadow of the Demon Lord. It was pretty brutal, and the descriptions were extreme. So yeah, that was really good, and I'm looking forward to running a few more of those. And then, depending on when those are done, I don't know exactly when that's going to play out. I think it's going to be end of May by the time I get the Beetle and Grimm. The Beetle and Grimm Salt Marsh. Salt Marsh. So there's a Salt Marsh Beetle and Grim pack with all sorts of like handouts and maps and encounter cards and all sorts of stuff. And I went ahead and ordered this for my group, it's coming out, I think, a couple of days or a couple of weeks after the main one. So I don't think I'll get to start. Salt Marsh as soon as it comes out. That looks really cool. I can't wait to get it. So I might be playtesting something on my own that I'm working on. I've been working hard on some stuff recently, and I'm hoping to start playtesting it soon. So we will figure that out. Lots of people in chat. So let's go back to chat here. Sorry. Prep a conversation. Awesome. Found your site. Tomb Annihilation. Great. Thank you. Welcome. Callus, the first time. Followed you on Twitch forever. Yeah. So prep systems. Yeah. I think, having a system is really good, right? It kind of doesn't matter what that system is. If it works for you, it's great. But if you have a system that's like your go-to, I think it makes life easier, right? Like if you just have your checklist, there's a whole bunch of scientific research about the value of checklists. And one big, just having the checklist is really good. I'm slouching in my chair. Try not to bang in the mic. So just having a checklist, I think, is real valuable. And I offer one in here, and I think it works and works really well for me. And mine is flexible, right? Where like I don't necessarily have to do every step on it every time. So yeah, I think it works. What's your opinion on encounter chain middle of Waterdeep? Moonsilver, yeah. Yes. So Moonsilver TV asks about chapter 5, which is the encounter chain. When I ran the playtest for it, instead of running it as a chase, I ran it as an investigation. That the stone had already moved hands all the way through. And it was the character's job to figure out where it ended up. And I cut a few of the stages. Instead of 8, I think it's 8, and I cut it down to like 6 because it gets a little too crazy if you do it. But doing it as more of a slow-paced series of investigations was a lot more fun. I never ran it the other way. I never ran it as a chase. But yeah, I did feel like the idea that I can't imagine the frustration of trying to chase down a MacGuffin through 8 encounters and still not getting it, right? Like that feels frustrating to me. So I think the idea of like, we already know we don't have it and we know we're not going to get it, but we need to know where it went. And then you're walking through and kind of going to each of those places, but at a little slower pace. You can take a little time with it because it's already gone, right? You're just, so I think that's a lot more fun. Doing stuff on the fly. Yeah. And hack and slash players. Yeah. I've got a little bit of advice in the book on how to deal with hack and slash players to try to bring them more into the story. And it's things like ask them to describe what they do, get them to talk about, have them fill in some of the blanks in the game. If they get a new magic sword, ask them to talk about what that sword looks like, yeah, there's little tricks to try to get it in there, to try to get some hack and slash players to do a little more. And I know that, yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty lucky. My players are now into this story. Tome Show interview with Rob Schwab. Yeah, I think he was also on the Don't Split the Podcast Network on Tabletop Babble. And the interview with Rob Schwab on Tabletop Babble is really enlightening. It was really good. I kind of want to listen to it again. Yeah, if you have a chance to play Shadow of the Demon Lord, I recommend it. It's really fun. And one neat thing about the campaign, the system, is it's designed for 11 sessions exactly. So you run 11 sessions and then you're done. So you can run, and to me, like that makes it well worth the price of the book and all the other crap I bought. If I can run 11 fun sessions, that's 33 hours. That's a lot of time. 33 hours for 7 people. That's a lot. 7, 14, 21. So that's about 220 hours worth of enjoyment. So that's really good. forcing more city scenarios, gathering information, having them talk to NPCs, telling them to treat it like an MMO where they can talk to an NPC so they get 100 gold for getting a cat out of a tree. That's pretty funny. Fantastic circuses. That is not the next. That is not the next Sly Flourish product. Sorry, I'll add that to the list. Yeah, when is the encounter builder? Have we seen previews of the encounter builder? Starscream 1999 says encounter builder. Is there one? Did they preview it? I'd love to see it. I'll have to go look at it. If any of you has the link to anything that can tell me what the encounter builder looks like. So there's a dev stream. I'll have to go look at it. They've been previewing on a dev stream. I'll go check that out. So anyway, we have hit 11 o'clock. I feel good. I feel well prepped for my game. All my notes, as soon as I hit save, are now on my phone, so I can just go to the shop, and I got all these secrets. This one's obviously a lot more about secrets. So yeah, I think we are good to go. So I want to thank everybody for a wonderful chat today. Thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I will see all of you guys next week. Thank you all very much.